Hi, so I'm Alison and this is Teri. Together we are the Sky Whisperers, sort of unpacking astrology for you. And today we're really excited to have Joli Knott with us, whose website, bodhimindful, is just a cornucopia, if you like, of places to kind of dip into and explore. So we'll definitely put that in the notes at the end. So, Jolly, you kind of like to call yourself a hybrid astrologer, I think we were saying just now, where you kind of straddle the ancient sort of traditional astrology, but also bring that through a modern lens. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yes, no, thank you, Allison. And thank you, Terry, as well, for having me today. I'm so
Yeah,
happy to have some time to hang out with you both. So
Yeah, so
it's really,
likewise.
really
thank you being
exciting.
here. Yeah, well, we are welcoming you with open arms. So,
Thank you. So yes, the hybrid astrologer, that is definitely I'm trying to figure out if there's other terminology I can use, but essentially I came to astrology originally through modern astrology. So I was definitely seeing the chart as reflecting the psychology of the native. I was seeing the 12 houses as
Mhm.
representing 12 different archetypes within the native, maybe more of a Jungian spin. Big Alice O'Howell fan. So, that's just something
Okay.
that I enjoyed, but I did it was difficult for me to go further, I think, because there were a lot of bits and pieces that didn't make sense to me.
Hmm.
Like, please explain to me why Virgo has Mercury as both domicile and exaltation ruler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like that. I wanted to know, I wanted to feel like I was standing on firm ground. And
Hmm.
sometimes with some of the modern astrology stuff, it just didn't feel right. And as a Scorpio rising, I have to say, Pluto as my ascendant ruler, I don't know, something about it was just not sitting right.
Hmm.
So when I finally got to Hellenistic astrology and
Okay.
studying with Chris Brennan and then later Adam Ellenboss, I really found those rationales that I was thirsting
Right.
for.
Right.
But having
Okay.
said that, I don't throw asteroids or outer planets, out the window. I do
Hmm.
use them, albeit maybe more sparingly than others. I certainly don't use the outer planets as sign, give them sign rulership, I should say.
Right.
Um, but it's so clear that particularly when one of those outer planets show up in a tight conjunction or
Yeah.
opposition to a natal planet, it's saying something, and to
Hmm.
ignore that, I think, is, to our own detriment. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. Coming obviously from the Faculty of Astrological Studies, so that that we definitely bring in outer planets, and I'm a fan of using them. But I can see where you're coming from with the traditional astrology as well.
it's like
Sometimes
more like the root. I think it's like the when you have, I think, traditional astrology, that the cement, I think it's like, and then you build up over that foundation in a way. And I think when you get that foundation, the things, even you add the modern astrology, and it starts sounding differently. You have a different perspective, as if you
Mhm.
find your roots, and then from there, yeah, you it's like from south north to north north, it's coming like that, that you can go to your journey whichever you way, but you have to get that basic, that something that is the birth, the initial point. I mean, it feels like that. I mean, like with the traditional astrology, I don't know if you agree, but I think it gives a feeling like that when you go back to that.
I think that makes so much sense to me because, I mean, again, just on a very small point, I have I'm a Scorpio rising, so
Mhm.
the Mars as ascendant ruler makes so much sense for me, and I can
Okay.
see it again and again and again. Quick example, when Mars was conjunct Uranus in
Mhm.
Taurus a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
that was at pretty much the exact opposition to my ascendant, and I
Okay.
got stung by a wasp.
Wow. Okay.
Like
That's good to know.
literally as they were perfecting the conjunction. So,
Mm,
you can't get more literal than that,
that's true.
Um, and so pieces like that really make me appreciate traditional astrology. And
Mm,
as you said, Terry, then kind of start to build as feels right. For me, astrology has a very visceral feel. I can really um I, I can't explain it other than to say it's something where in my body I can feel like yeah, that's sitting right. And I
hmm.
can work with that and I can try to understand what it's trying to say, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I completely see that. And I really like that example as well because I think it's absolutely true. And astrology just works on every level, doesn't it? It
Yes.
does work on the completely psychological level, but it also just works on a literal level, like getting stung by a wasp. And I think to ignore that and to say, okay, it's all just psychological, or not just psychological, but everything, is missing something that's very important and missing something that, the ancients saw as well. And you probably see that in horary, do you, Terry, as well?
Yes,
Mm.
exactly. I mean, it's like I think that's how I had to, but I'm happy to be there. That going back to traditional astrology, which I also, like Alison, didn't meet at the Faculty of Astrological Studies because they have a different approach. And
Mm.
with the horror, I mean, it's like seeing all those bases, the humors and everything, and then the different approach to the elements and the planets. I mean, like it's like you are really seeing a different world, and it's
Mm,
something really a positive addition that is for the way that we see astrology, the way that we see the charts, the way that we see the lives at the end of the day. So
yes.
I think
Yeah.
that that's really important. I mean, in that sense. And
Yeah.
having said that, you were going to ask Joli her big
Oh,
three.
yeah.
I think maybe we go back there.
If you mind sharing your big three, as it were, because I think people are interested in that. And you said you've got Scorpio rising. I think on your website, actually, it says you're an Aquarius sun. So
I
there's the
am.
moon.
And so it's something I was going to bring up earlier as well. So I'm a Scorpio rising, Aquarius moon, Aquarius sun, and a
Okay.
Pisces moon. But that Pisces moon is part of a stellium.
Right.
I've got
Okay.
4 planets in
Oh,
Pisces,
gosh. Okay.
and including Saturn. So I'm going through my second Saturn return right
Okay.
now.
Right.
And there's been some talk about stelliums, I think, recently through the astrology
Chris,
podcast, and the
Made
astrologer
something like that.
Bear River has been talking about it. But really, when you have 4 classical planets sitting in one
Four
house,
classical planets. Okay.
they are controlling everything. I mean, not controlling, but they are pinging like almost the entire chart.
Very
Yeah.
personal at the end of the day, right? No, all the
Very.
traditional, yeah, it becomes really personal. I mean, it's not like about anyone else, generations
Mm.
or this and that, but it's like it's you. It's part of
Mm.
you, all your energy, I think, inside that. That's really interesting. So you have Pisces moon like me, and the Ellison is a Pisces sun. So
I love it. I love it. Pisces unite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I just say on that note, actually, one
Hmm.
thing that does drive me a bit potty sometimes is that a lot of social media will talk
Mm.
about how Pisces is like, oh, this like, dreamy, ethereal, oh, you're prone to addiction. And it's like people don't understand that at its core, Pisces is like hardcore.
Yes.
Thank you, Allison.
Absolutely. And I think there's something that can be very cold and detached about Pisces, she says.
Yes. No, but it's true.
It absolutely is because it's impersonal. It's not a personal sign. Okay, it's universal. It's got this compassion. until it withdraws it, and then it hasn't. And I do think that's
There is that detachment part, I think, really, I mean, followed by, I mean, following the Aquarius, I mean, coming after Aquarius and everything. Of course, it comes more to a like a more collective, etc. level, but at the same time, there is something that is really. My mother was a Pisces, and I know that, I mean, something will happen like this. She used to disappear. I mean, it's like I got on a bus, and I'm like. Uh, and I'm like, also it's the times that you don't have any communication, and someone just decides that because she wanted to get on a bus because she had to clear her head, and then just
That's it.
disappear
She's
and
off. Yeah.
like off, left everything behind, and bye. It's like this, like Eight of Cups
that
in tarot. You see that they I'm completed my mission here. Okay, bye bye
I'm
everyone.
done.
Saturn in
Yeah.
Pisces. It's like that.
And I love what you said also, Allison, because I think that isn't that Claire? I think I first read that through Martin's books about how you've got the first four are the individual signs,
mm,
and then you have the social signs, and then you
hmm
have the universal signs.
yes,
And
yeah, she definitely says
if
that.
you look every time I see, and apologies for bringing politics into it, but when I see certain people who are fanatical about certain issues, more often than not, you can see a strong Pisces signature there. Because they're thinking about the greater collective, right? They're
Okay.
saying
hmm
this is how we fix things.
hmm
And then they become, they're swimming in that ocean. And I don't know. I don't want to belabor the point, but it just really does my head in when people are like, Pisces is ethereal. And I'm like, no, you are really missing a trick there.
Yeah, and I've heard it prefaced with the little as well, a little Pisces. It just makes me want to thump people, actually.
Thank you. I feel seen. I feel heard. Thank you.
So I'm wondering actually, thinking about you have a real kind of I don't know, a history of spending time in Japan and things like that, and you obviously feel very connected to it. And I'm wondering, is that a country that I always think of fish when I think of Japan for some reason? So I don't know, just it just is it a Pisces type place, do you think?
I would say it's a very
Yeah.
Virgo type place.
And that's interesting.
Having said that, though,
Quite structured.
the Virgo Pisces
Yeah.
axis, I mean,
Yeah.
for me, one of the things I love about Japan is the attention to detail.
Okay.
It's just so gorgeous. The way they present the food, every tiny little detail is
Mm,
taken into account. Like
okay.
it's not just the shape, it's also the color, it's the presentation,
Mm,
the plate it's on. It's so beautiful. I remember when I first went to Japan as an exchange student, and as you do, because I was thinking, American kid, but with Indian parents, right? So
yeah.
we ate spicy food all my life. And then you're sending me to a country, not sending, I wanted to go, but I'm in a country where they don't really use spice. They
hmm
have like raw fish. I lived in McDonald's for the first 3 months, much to my
Okay.
chagrin.
Okay.
But at McDonald's, they would serve the food. The drink was always either in a separate bag or handed to you. And when they would
hmm
fold the bag, they would then fold the corner. Just to not only to make it look nice, but also like let's keep that warmth inside. It was just so I just remember my jaw being on the ground. And on their menu, it will say, cheeseburger, French fries, and then it will say smile, 0 yen.
Yeah.
And so, we would always say, "Oh, and can I have a smile, please?" And they'd be like, just little things like that.
That's
So there's
nice.
a very
That's really nice.
childlike
Mm,
piece to Japan as well, which comes
mm,
out through the anime, through,
mm,
the manga, which are
mm.
the comic books, and then but that contrast between being very childlike and innocent, but then
And the
also having
samurai.
great detail, right?
Mm.
Terry, I think you went. Didn't you go a couple of years ago
Yeah,
and you were
I
photographing
have
the
been two times to Japan, and my husband is practicing Aikido, so he has been many times. I mean, like he
Okay.
is very much involved in the culture, Japanese culture, and he really loves it. And the thing is that I think there is this really, you say, also there is a lot of attention. I mean, like care for the children. I mean, here, I mean, like in UK, when you see Japan and then you are saying that like the children are not given enough care. I mean, I don't want to say, but it feels like that when you go
Hmm.
to Japan. And also that's a very contradictory way. I mean, like when you go to that I don't know if tea ceremony, etc. There is something like very like elegant there, but then there is this samurai culture that is something that is actually very martial, of course. That all that thing. I mean, they are like tough and soft. I mean, there's something
Mm.
like that. There is a kind of maybe that's a Virgo Pisces axis more like that. I mean, like this, that there is also, I mean, like if you think when I used to study at the university, we were studying these multicultural things. I mean, all in the countries and etc. And then when it comes to Japan, they have this corporate culture and everything,
oh,
how the things are like very much in order,
Mm.
strict. There is something very strict, but there is something very soft. There is something very it's a very interesting, very interesting. But I think still it's I think amazing. I mean, I always get amazed the cleanliness, the kind
mm.
of order. I mean, like
Have you
it's
been,
beautiful.
Allison?
I haven't. I'm really quite excited at the idea of going now, though. It's yeah, it's interesting because I was thinking when you're talking about your Pisces planets and the Virgo, maybe that was what actually was attracting you, the fact that it was the opposite.
The antidote, if you will,
Yes.
what I needed to
Yeah.
balance those, that stellium. And
Yeah.
I also think that, very much along the lines of what Terry was saying, Japan, one of the things I love about Japan is that embrace of the dichotomy of things.
Hmm.
And
Right.
so again, right from the start, I remember going to a fire. So fireworks in the summer fireworks are really
Hmm.
big in Japan, and they usually hold them by like a river. And
Okay.
so people will be on one side of the river, and then they'll be setting fireworks on the other side, and they are
Hmm.
spectacular. But you will see people dressed in their summer kimono,
Hmm.
and the hair's all done up. And I remember taking a photograph of a group of Japanese women in their kimono
Hmm.
having coffee and donuts at a Dunkin' Donuts. And I just remember thinking, whoa, that's like this weird embrace of modern and traditional. And that's what Japan is to me. It is this place where both come together so beautifully.
Mm.
So,
There's something about holding a paradox in a way, which maybe the West has lost a little bit. Become a little bit too simplistic. It has to be black and white, one or the
and
other.
polarized. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally
Yeah.
polarized. And
Yeah.
Japan is still able somehow to kind of hold the paradox. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
And
excited for you to go.
talking about all these cultural things, you say that you are coming, your parents from India, and then you were grown up, I think, in the United States and lived in Japan, and then now UK and everything. How do they end up in astrology? How does it reflect in
That
your
is
astrology?
such a good question, and you're gonna laugh when you hear it. It's my Jupiter in Cancer in the ninth house.
Okay.
Oh, super. Yeah, okay.
Like, and that pretty much, I think, explains a lot of it. Um, so yeah, having that Jupiter in Cancer, I am a night chart. If you think about sect,
Hmm.
so that
Yeah.
it's Jupiter, it's a retrograde Jupiter. But it's trine my Saturn in Pisces.
Hmm.
And then if you do use the outer planets, it's trine Neptune in Scorpio.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've got this trine going on, and then also I've got Uranus Pluto in Virgo, and so they're making a bit of a kite.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I mean, it's something that I've always, I don't know, it's just, I've always been drawn to, I've always been a big Anglophile. I
Hmm.
love Agatha Christie. I love Jane Austen. I, enjoyed studying, English history. But then when I spent time in Japan, I don't know, I'll never forget the first time, again, going as an exchange student,
Hmm.
and the airport is so far away that you had to take a bus from the airport to like the station inside Tokyo where my host
Hmm.
family was picking me up. But to make a long story short, I remember passing by these rice paddy fields and having this again visceral sense, oh, I'm home.
Wow.
Wow.
Which was bizarre because, I mean, as I said, have parents who were born in India. So we have
Mm.
family in India. I would go to India regularly. I always felt like I was straddling this like Indian
Mm.
world and this American world. But then showing up in Japan and literally within the first 30 minutes of being on that bus and just having this sense I'm home. I mean,
Mm.
if you believe in past lives, then maybe it makes sense. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you have to, I think, when you
But I
get stuff
also
like
I
that.
also love how it's reflected here, right? I mean, Terry's from Turkey living in Scotland. Alison, you're
Mm.
from the UK living in
That
France,
is
right?
true.
And then I'm the token American living in England. So it works
Yeah,
out.
yeah, that's interesting. Yes, it is. And I actually, not so much France, but yeah, had the same feeling when we moved here, okay, yes, this is the place. Yeah.
Mm,
So it is
mm.
interesting how that does happen. Yeah. Did you have that with Edinburgh, Terry? Do you feel at
No,
home there?
I don't think so that I feel like I belong anywhere that I think my natal chart, I have Uranus that is conjunct my IC. I don't think so that makes
Right.
things that easier like for me. And then there is this Chiron that is also opposing my Uranus and everything, and then
Yeah.
Venus, and
Mm.
it's really interesting for me. I mean, I feel like when I live there, okay, I'm fine, but I can move anywhere, anytime. So it's like I don't have. I mean, like I'm beyond belonging somewhere. I think it's like
I
yeah,
love that. I often will say I'm
Yes.
a citizen of the world because I do
yeah,
truly believe that. And I know people are gonna think whatever, but I'll say it anyway. I mean, I honestly believe the earth belongs to everyone.
yeah,
And
of
so
course,
Yeah.
borders and
of
things
course,
like that, it gets
Mm.
messy.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah,
why we'll stay away from politics. But
yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah.
Jupiter ninth house does get me very opinionated on political views and political matters. So I'll just throw that out there. But yeah.
Well, I won't disagree with you on that one. So I'm interested in how your Reiki has kind of
Yeah,
come into
exactly.
everything as well, and how that kind of interweaves with the astrology. Because I think that's just such a wonderful combination.
Mm.
It's first of all, what is Reiki? I mean, it's some kind of energy healing.
It's an energy, uh, what would you call it actually? Let me rewind. So at the turn of the century, Japan was furiously trying to westernize and catch up
Okay.
with the other countries of the world because they
Hmm.
had been closed
Right.
for over 200 years. Um, so Japan became a closed country in I think roughly 1603, and then the Meiji Ishin or Meiji Revolution, as it's often referred to, happened in
Hmm.
1868.
Okay.
And Japan sent these delegations everywhere to try to figure out, okay, we want the American naval system, we want the British mercantile system, we want the French penal system. So it was really interesting.
Mm.
They went and studied all the countries and said, we're going to take the best of them and bring them and do it
Hmm.
art, do that this way here in Japan. But in the background, you had a lot of these different Japanese arts that
Hmm.
were kind of caught in the crosshairs because a lot of people were going, oh, that's traditional, and we're all
Mm.
about the modern and the new. So actually, at the turn of the century, this would be the early, let's say, 1920s or so, you did have a number of schools that were talking about tapping into a universal energy field.
Hmm.
And they were variously known as Reiki. So Rei
Okay.
means universal, and Ki means spirit.
In
That's one
Japanese?
in Japanese. That's one
Okay.
way
In
you could
Japanese.
you could understand it.
Hmm.
They can also mean a type of spirit or energy, but essentially it was meant to translate into universal energy.
Right.
And then what happened, it's actually an interesting story, is that so there were all these schools flourishing, and one school that was run by this man named Usui, so Usui Sensei, he ended up teaching many people, but in particular a Japanese Hawaiian or Japanese American woman from Hawaii who
Hmm.
had traveled back to Japan. She was suffering. I can't remember now what it was, maybe something on her leg or something on her back. But she ended up going to this Reiki clinic
Hmm.
and getting healed. And so she then wanted to learn,
Mm.
and she did. She then brought that back to America. So now,
Okay.
when
Mm,
all the other schools died out
Hmm.
in Japan, Takata is her name, Takata Hawayo. So sensei kept it going in America, but she changed the story a
Right.
little bit because she knew that people would kind of freak out. So Usui sensei became this like Christian minister that he wasn't,
okay.
but that's
Okay.
okay. And she changed the story just so it would be more accepted. But what
Hmm.
ended up happening is she trained 22 Reiki masters, and they
Wow.
then went on to train other people. So Reiki actually flourished because of that American connection.
Mm.
Okay. Okay.
Reiki does still exist in Japan, but it's very secretive. It tends
Oh,
to be
okay.
Okay.
a very
Interesting.
closed and insular group, and they don't really let people in very easily.
Hmm.
Mm,
So it's such an interesting story that you have this Japanese art, if you will, of healing or of connecting to energy as a
Mm.
source, and yet it was proliferated through America.
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
It's
Mm.
crazy, right? Um, but yes, so those 22 masters, uh, I think were mainly American. There were, I think, a couple of British people who were either trained by them or in that 20 group of 22. But at any rate, the woman I learned from in Japan was British, married to a Japanese person, and she
Okay.
managed to make a connection with the secretive Japanese group.
Hmm.
Okay.
But because she was in Japan, she also made a connection to, there was a strand of Reiki that went to India and Australia.
Okay.
Okay.
That's different again from the American version. So that's got
Hmm.
more of like a Buddhist kind of angle to it.
Hmm.
So she was able to train through that. And then she also had the connection to the British Reiki master. So I'm so lucky. She had these three strands in
Mm.
her background, and then I was able to learn from her.
Okay.
So, without being too disparaging, and I do apologize because I don't mean to offend anyone, but a lot of the Reiki that you see being taught now,
Mm.
and people probably feel the same way about astrology. I'm sorry. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and
Okay.
then you start
Right.
missing out pieces. And
Mm.
great that you're taking it on faith, but again, don't you want to know the real thing? Don't you want to know,
Mm.
not just miss out that S at the end? Don't you want to know what the actual word is? Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Something
Yeah.
like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, and does that weave into astrology at all, or do you see them as two completely separate strands that you kind of bring together yourself?
It's I think I put them together in my own way.
Hmm.
Reiki came first on my spiritual journey, and then astrology came later.
Right.
Um, so at first they felt like two very separate things, but then I got really interested in studying the human nervous system,
Hmm.
and that's when it started kind of coming together in my head, like, oh, wait a minute, these things actually do sit together quite beautifully.
Hmm.
In that, when we think about Reiki, one of the things that a former boss who I used to work at an integrative health clinic, and he
Okay.
was he had founded the clinic, and he said to me, "You need to tell people that Reiki is something that helps you with your locus of control."
Ah,
I don't know if you've ever heard of that phrase before.
no.
So locus of control will speak to, for example, if I pass an exam,
Mm-hmm.
the internal locus of control is saying, "Oh, wow, I did all the work. I really kind of studied my butt off. Yes, the teacher was good, but it was really down to me."
Mm-hmm.
The external locus of control will say, "I passed that exam and it was all because of the teacher. It was all because of that class. It was all because of the school and the fact that they're so great. They got me through it. They shepherded me
Okay.
through it." So you can imagine the flip side is if you fail the exam,
Mm-hmm.
you're not taking responsibility if your
Mm.
external locus of control is overly weighted.
Yeah.
You're blaming everybody outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Similarly, if your internal locus of control is overly weighted, then something that really was beyond your control, it was circumstance, you're still beating yourself up over because your
Okay.
internal locus of control is so weighted that
Yeah.
you think you're responsible for everything.
Mm.
Reiki brings balance to that.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
if you've got an overly weighted external locus of control, let's kind of bring that internal locus more into focus and vice
Mm.
versa. So, that's one piece. And then the other piece is I'm not a medical astrologer yet.
Mm-hmm.
I that's something I definitely want to study.
Mm.
But I would often find that when I was conducting a Reiki session, I could feel something's happening so I think about it in terms of traditional Chinese medicine, what's happening in the meridians. So
Right.
if I'm talking
Okay.
about liver, it's not just the liver organ, it's the liver meridian, which is connected
Mm.
to the eyes. And so I'll be like, oh, something's happening in liver, meaning liver meridian. And then lo and behold, I'll see in the chart, oh, look at that Jupiter transit.
Jupiter. Yeah.
Yes. And so when I started realizing that there was a matchup there,
Right.
yeah, I just got very excited. So that's a work in
Okay.
progress, but
Right.
I do use them together. Yeah.
Okay. And you talk about fertility and your own fertility journey on the website as well. And is that something you kind of see yourself perhaps going towards, maybe doing work in that area? I think
I
that's really interesting and so much need for it these days as well.
and you just gave me goosebumps, Alice.
Oh, did I? Well, I'm
It's
Pisces after all.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's coming through. I think it's Nicholas Alsop who does
Yes,
a
it is.
fertility
Yes. Yes,
course,
she
and I
does.
have been dying to take it. I think she does it with
Yes.
Jen's art, and that is something I really want to do because
Mm,
having gone through IVF, it's a subject very close to my heart.
yeah.
And having suffered a miscarriage and just all of it, everything to do with, fertility is a
Mm,
subject close to my heart. And again, it's probably no surprise because Pisces is sitting in my fifth house. So, that idea of, children are extremely important to me.
hmm.
Um, so that is something again, kind of veering towards that medical astrology fertility side is
Yeah.
definitely something I would like to pursue.
Yeah, no, I think it's so interesting. I didn't know she did a course actually. I mean, but it's something that
Yes.
I'm interested in too, for lots of different reasons. But yeah, so I can definitely see that you would be yeah, super sympathetic with that, and you can bring the Reiki in as well then, I guess.
100%. I do offer um on my website a package where I do astrology and Reiki together.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of fun because, often depending on which one you do first, you can have this Reiki session and then things will come up and then I'll see the chart and I'll be like, well, here you go. Here's a direct line from what we were talking about at the Reiki session to what's in your chart. But, we can also do it vice versa. Now,
Mm.
you add in that layer about fertility and, it becomes very clear. I mean, in retrospect, I have Saturn in Pisces in the fifth house. On one hand, it
Okay.
made my fertility journey difficult.
Right.
On the other hand, Saturn is often, particularly in the fifth house, I believe, seen as a representing the fostering or fathering of other children.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
so I've had a number of astrologers look at my chart and go, wait, you say you only have the one child? I'm like, mm-hmm.
Mm.
But your chart suggests lots of children. And I'm like, I do have lots of
Right.
children through school.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
teach primary school kids. I've
Hmm.
been doing it for 12 years now.
Okay.
And it's in my chart, right? It's there. And that's the Saturn. So again, I love reminding people about how multivalent the planets are in their
Mm.
symbolism.
It's like the
Mm.
teacher at the end of the day, right? Yeah, the teacher in a way.
It
We
yeah,
can
in a
we
way
can take.
so I'm obviously with the Aquarius sun, I'm just a big believer in yes, Saturn can be uncomfortable experiences, but Saturn can provide benefits just as Venus and Jupiter tend to be more enjoyable experiences, but they can equally be malefic in certain
Yeah.
ways and
Yeah.
times as well, right?
Yeah,
You don't
exactly.
want a Jupiter transit when you're fighting a tumor,
I know. Absolutely. Gosh, no, I see.
right?
No, good point.
So, yeah, yeah.
Which will happen with my mother, unfortunately.
Oh
Oh,
no. Oh
So
oh,
gosh.
so
Terry,
it's
I'm
like
sorry to bring that up. I'm sorry.
no,
That was a bit
that's
insensitive.
that's fine. I mean, that's life. I mean, it's like when I went back, I mean, all the thing, it was the case. I mean, it was also conjuncting my moon in Pisces. So
Mm.
Wow. But again,
Gosh.
that astrology is loud.
it's literal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when coming from there, when the people are, it's the luckiest day, it's the best day because you have Jupiter, and I say, you don't know what you are talking about. You don't know what you are talking about. It's like I think the people in that sense. I mean, I think all the planets in that sense, even they
Mm.
are like, especially in traditional astrology, it's malefic or it's benefic and everything. I think that I mean, all the facts, all the
Mm,
coins have
mm.
two sides. No, there
Yes.
are the stories. I
100%.
mean, there are
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
two sides. I mean, so in that sense, I think it's like we cannot look at as a black white. We have to see like from all around. I mean, 360 what is going on.
Mm.
I think it's very important, and I think also it's like, I mean, in terms of all transits and everything, we have to look, I mean, like, okay, Jupiter is the lucky state, but what is the rest of the story? Is all the story telling me that Jupiter is the luckiest, or the story is telling completely something different to me? I mean, I think it's
Hmm.
in a way we have to stop ourselves and say like, okay, what's going on?
That's just jump in really quickly. I couldn't agree with you more. I
Mm.
had a rant on Blue Sky the other day because it's like, listen, you can't just look at the universal signification of a planet. You need to
Mm.
look at what is its topical significations? What is it ruling in the natal chart? What house is it
Yes.
sitting in? And you
Yes.
just don't get enough of that on social media, and it does my
Mm.
head in.
Yeah. No, no, that's absolutely true. And so looking again then at your Pisces stellium, in that fifth house, ruled presumably then by Jupiter, or disposited, I should say, by Jupiter retrograde in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole idea of the family, but also in the ninth of the teacher as well,
Yeah.
and the wisdom that's associated with that and that comes with it. And I remember Carol Taylor saying, actually, I think it must have been in a seminar or something, that, Saturn doesn't deny, it just makes it difficult.
Yes.
And that, with that difficulty comes obviously, a period of growth and wisdom that you wouldn't otherwise have had. I mean, might prefer not to have had, but still, in the universal scheme of things, presumably.
I wouldn't be here now if I hadn't had those 2 failed rounds of IVF, if I hadn't had the miscarriage, and they were awful experiences. They
Yeah,
were awful.
yeah, yeah.
But I had these epiphanies and breakthroughs as a result of going through that really difficult time.
Mm,
And, now I wouldn't trade it for the world.
hmm
Yes, it was awful at the moment,
hmm
or in the moment, I should say, but, now I'm able to look back in hindsight. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I needed that. So,
So, how do you see yourself evolving? You've said you'd like to move into medical astrology. Is that in the near future? I mean, what does your day look like now, and how might that change going forward? How would you
well,
like
I
that to change?
have a teenager at the moment, and I
Okay.
also have a puppy. So, between, those two and trying to manage that and manage, I don't know how other people do it, honestly. How do you manage all your daily household chores,
No one does.
your family living? So I've got, my family are all in the States, and so they're far away. And I was on Zoom with them last night for 2+ hours. I mean, how do you fit everything in one day? And then
You
on top of
don't.
that, people are like
You
on
don't
social
know.
media, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like,
You need
I get,
48 hours. You need
I mean, I
48
get I'm
hours.
slow, but yeah. So, what does my day look like? I mean, it does change on a daily
Mm,
basis. I am a part-time teacher, so when
mm,
I'm at school, it is really full on.
yeah.
We are a boarding school, so we have children that
Oh,
are coming from all over Japan, China, Korea, Russia,
Wow.
Spain.
Okay.
Um, and most of the time I'm working with those children who are using English as an additional language. So they're
Okay.
studying in a completely different language in a completely different culture than their
Mm.
own. And part of my job is to help them with that transition,
like
if
an
you will.
international school. Again, Jupiter in Cancer in the ninth.
Right, right? I mean, you can't get away from it.
Your chance
Um,
always there.
yeah, it's always there in some shape or form. So that is a full day, and then I do it again. And also teach a Japanese club. And then the rest of the time is spent on bodhimindful. So having
Mm,
consultations, doing
mm,
research for future talks,
right.
um, doing courses. So the course I'm doing at the moment is with Ashwin Subramanian, who I co-host a podcast with,
Hmm
but he is teaching Jyotish. He comes from a family of astrologers whose lineage goes back 350 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to finally learn from him. And it's a bit of a
Mm,
full circle moment, actually, because I originally was like, no, astrology is bad, because I remember hearing stories about how an astrologer told my grandfather that he would most likely die at 63.
mm,
And I just remember thinking, that's ridiculous. You put that idea in someone's head and
mm,
they make it happen, don't they?
mm.
So to have gone from that kind of really stance
Yes.
to now I'm learning Jyotish, I'm learning the astrology of my heritage, if you will.
hmm
It really is a full circle moment.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
How is the
that's really
podcast? I mean, like, well, what do you think about making a podcast and everything? I mean, I know that you are already in the fifth episode with Ashwin, no, in your
Yeah, yeah.
podcast, and you do it, I think, twice a month. at the moment?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, we release
yeah,
episodes on the 5th and the 20th of
20th,
every.
Hmm.
yes.
And it's been so much fun because I mean, I adore Ashwin. I think he's just such a wonderful astrologer and human being. And so it's just been, I think, probably a little bit like what you guys have been doing, just this really kind of casual, let's
Mm.
hang out, let's talk about like what's uppermost in our minds. I got fixated on process because I just don't think we talk enough about it, and I
Mm.
see so many new astrologers coming out and saying, I don't know what to do.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure. How do I get into the the consultation process? Where do I find my
Mm.
clients? How do I structure it? And I know there's resources out there, but it's something that I feel really strongly about because of that background with the nervous system health, working with children,
Mm.
wanting to be trauma informed, wanting everyone to be trauma informed.
Mm.
Yeah,
There is no excuse to be an astrologer and not understand, the ethics of what needs to be communicated, how
Yeah.
yeah,
and why we do that. And I
Yeah.
do feel very strongly about that.
Mm.
So, um, that was part of that whole idea of process, and that's what we've been talking about on the podcast. And I felt really bad because for a while it looked like people were less interested in that topic, but again it goes back to that idea, you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other,
Mm.
because I have no doubt that at some point in the future it will be a topic of interest and people will be able to go back and go, oh look, they've done 3 episodes on that.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Mm.
Just
yeah,
keep going. Just
just
keep
keep
going. Not,
going.
yeah,
Keep
not
going.
giving up hopes. Yeah.
100%. And, it helps that when we do sit down and record, it's just fun. It's
Yes.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hanging out and
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
chatting.
absolutely.
It's much
It's like
nicer to do it with somebody else.
actually, it's you are doing for yourself, and then you let it go. And if anyone wants to share that
That's exact.
experience with you, that's fine. If not, I already had my fun, so who cares?
Yes.
You you you've taken the words out of my mouth. That's exactly
Yes.
where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm coming from. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you. Was there anything else you wanted to add? I think we've had a
Yeah,
fantastic
if
chat.
there is any events or anything that is coming up
Mm.
about astrology or Reiki or both, etc. If you would like to share with people, I mean, it would be you are going to speak next year. It's next year, but at UAC, right?
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a big step.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh
Fantastic.
my gosh, it feels very surreal. I've just, yeah, I feel really humbled to have been chosen
Yes,
because it's, a big deal. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
something that
definitely.
I'm really excited about, obviously very nervous about as well, but really looking forward to
Mm.
spending time with other astrologers, and the setup, the layout looks amazing. So,
Right. Yeah.
it's
I
a
am
huge
looking forward to
conference.
that.
No, it's
Huge, huge.
like all the world would be there in a way.
I
To
keep,
do
yeah,
that.
the way I've described it to my family, I'm like, pretend it's like the Olympics of the astrology world.
Yeah. That's a very
Yeah, yeah,
good way of
yeah,
looking.
yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Next year, September, right? Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
in Chicago. That's one thing. And anything coming up, like any talks, etc.
Well, I was going to say, so one thing that I probably should have mentioned and didn't is
Hmm.
that, most astrologers, I think, do tend to become inclined to something that really fascinates them.
Hmm.
For me, those pieces are the Lot of Fortune,
Okay.
the 12th parts or
Yeah,
dodecatomoria,
Dr. Maria.
and the lunar nodes, the
Right.
nodal axis. Those are the three pieces that I absolutely love looking at.
Hmm.
Um, Under the lunar nodal axis, I include eclipses and prenatal eclipses,
Yeah.
prenatal lunations. So those are the pieces that are like my specialty. So like
Hmm.
recently I had a client who wanted to know more about the fixed stars, and I'm like, listen, because I don't work with them so
Mm,
regularly. I
yeah.
know of them, but you're not going to get the best information from me. You're better off going to this astrologer or this astrologer
Mm,
who, they've done work,
mm,
and you can go see it on their website. You can purchase their lectures and whatnot.
mhm,
Um, so, that's something I feel really strongly about, is that I would love in the astrology community if we could become maybe better at being able to like redirect people
yeah.
when a
Yeah, of
topic
course.
comes up
Yeah.
that maybe we're not so um experienced in, because
Hmm.
it's not something we tend to look at, and then be able to kind of share that. But yeah, those are the topics that I really really like. And in that vein, I'm currently working on the third of a series of 4 talks that I'm doing on the lunar nodes.
Hmm.
So the
Wow.
first one was last year for the Astrological Association conference, and that had to really do with lunar nodes and timing.
Hmm.
So it was looking at nodal returns, nodal reversals, and nodal squares, and how this really says something to us in terms of timing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Next talk that I did was the lunar nodes through the houses and
Hmm.
how we
Mm-hmm.
can parse that. I really wanted to give another way of looking at the lunar nodes other than increase, decrease, future,
Mm-hmm.
past. I just,
Yeah.
again, it's such a binary way of looking at it, and the,
Mm.
the nodes
It's
are
an
actually quite
it's
fixed.
an at the end of the day it's there is a continuation. You cannot cut like all the axis.
Yes,
I mean, like you cannot just cut in the middle. You start. Yeah, there is a journey there. I mean, so you cannot like say that okay, past the yeah, there is a coming. Yeah, it's coming from past or it's coming from birth, but it's not something that you just leave behind. I mean, there is a
exactly.
continuation
Yeah.
and all entangled in a way, no, all within each other,
Yeah,
something
no,
like that.
exactly. It's like an infinity loop. It's
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
right. It's constantly
luminescent. Yeah,
moving back
yeah,
and forth. So
yeah.
that's something I really want people to understand. And so
Mm.
the next talk that will be coming up in November, I'll be delivering that for the Bedford Astrology Club, and it's
Okay.
the
Ah, that's
lunar
nice.
nodes through the signs.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then the final talk that I'm hoping to give will be planets that are square or conjunct the lunar nodes.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Wow,
So,
that sounds
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds,
Okay.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
but thank you so
So
much
we'll be, yeah,
for
yeah.
having me today. I really
We
enjoyed
will.
chatting with you, and I apologize if I went off too many
No,
tangents.
not at all.
No,
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 it's
no,
been
no.
really interesting.
It was really great, and coming in, we got like we have series of Jolly and the Sky Whispers. Maybe I think I really had fun. I'm sure that
Yeah,
Alison did
thanks so
as well. I
much.
mean, it was a really grand and very wonderful opening for us with the interview series. So we are very happy to have you here, to have had you here. So it was wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. We will
Bye.
see each other soon again. Okay, bye
Yes.
bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you again, Jolie. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.